On what's going on with retired Sheriff Mike Corona. What happened today on the federal indictment? You're back in court again?
Back in court again. It was just basically motions were filed. This was Corona's attorney's response to a motion before. This is what we're going to be doing from now till June, guys, is talking about the series of motions that both sides are presenting. Today it was Corona's attorneys saying, hey, we want at least, I think it was up to 4 counts dismissed because we don't believe that they're specific enough. Basically, Mike Corona was charged with something like not providing honest services to the people of Orange County. And they're saying that's just not specific enough. You have to say a certain state charge. And so they're going to try to get these dismissed. It's a pretty standard thing on the way to trial to try to get some of the counts dismissed.
Now, also today, in talking about Corona, Deborah Corona back in as well. Right. What happened there?
That's right. Her attorney, a separate guy, is continuing to try to get her counts either completely dismissed or at least certainly, down to below felony, which they are now. And for instance, they are saying that Corona's attorney, a guy named Dean Stewart, he'd been working with the government since 2005 trying to defend Corona, and he was astonished when last October he was told, hey, we're going to give you this package deal. If Mike Corona pleads to this, well, then we won't charge Debbie Corona. And he says, what are you talking about, charge Debbie Corona? So what they say is that the government was just trying to get to Corona by going through his wife.
And specifically, there was a charge against Debbie dropped because it appears as if it wasn't literally a charge in the first place, that the grand jury was mistaken as to the illegality of what she had done.
That's exactly right. Essentially, it's one overt act. She only faces one charge, but one overt act under the conspiracy charge, and it's about filing her public finance forms.
What is, and I was not aware, I guess I must have missed it, is it true that they were talking a little bit last month, trying to get something special set up for Deborah? After this came out, I'm really not sure. They were talking to prosecutors, I understand, their attorneys. Have they been trying to get any settlement of this before it hits the courts?
Well, there's certainly been talks, ongoing, yes. And in fact, there's been one motion already denied with Debbie Corona because what I just said was, they were trying to get to her through her husband. So yeah, there's been talks all along the way.
It seems like it's trying to get them reduced and trying to get the things that are going to be happening. I think it's going to be interesting. Your reaction, and again, as a reporter, and what you've heard, for folks reacting as well to the transcript that had a little bit too much profanity, and what was in that?
Really incredible, wasn't it? They released some of the documents last Friday, and basically it was the tape-recorded conversations between Mike Corona and Don Heidel. Obscenity-laced, as you said, pretty graphic language. I mean, it read like a script from The Sopranos, minus the gold pinky ring. I mean, Mike Corona was saying some pretty incredible things according to this transcript. And essentially he was saying to Don Heidel, hey, let's get our story straight. This never happened. You never gave me the cash. That's what we're going to say on the witness stand, right? And Don Heidel said, right. But of course, Don Heidel had been set up by government officers to do that. Yeah. And so he caught this on a tape.
This is 4 minutes of obviously an entire lunch conversation. Why was this transcript released, and do we have any idea how long the actual lunch was?
Mm-hmm. Well, there are actually several occasions that they recorded this, in June and August of 2007. So it was over the course of several events. However, the key one, August 13th, 2007, that is the day that will live down in infamy for Mike Corona, because that is the day he said these very strong Tony Soprano-like things. So basically, that's when they decided it, that's when Don Heidel taped it, and that's what's going to really not help Corona at trial.
And now trying to get a permanent replacement for Corona, and they're actually having gathering a little. This is a nationwide search for his replacement. Why are they having a little discussion next week?
Right, they're having a forum sponsored by the local Republican Party over in Anaheim. Here's what's weird. I was talking to a bunch of the candidates today because I'm preparing a story for Sunday. And I said, you guys, I'm not covering the election, but it feels like it. I'm gathering bios and photos, and everybody has their own websites and that kind of thing. It's an appointment by the board, but it feels like election coverage. Yeah.
It's amazing. And about 30 seconds or so left. On John Chamberlain, a settlement was arranged. And what was that settlement, and why was it for a whole lot less than what was asked?
$600,000 to the father of John Chamberlain, who was so savagely beaten in the jails by other inmates while the deputies watched a baseball game. $600,000 to his very elderly father who lives in Phoenix. And basically the lawyers felt like taking it to trial would be tough because he looks like a child molester.
Yeah.
Juries wouldn't like that.
Well, thank you very much as usual. Nice talking about what's going on with Corona, which we'll be talking about for a few months to come. But pretty soon we'll get into what's coming up in the election. That's going to be fun.
Very fun.
Thanks so much.
Happy Valentine's Day, guys.
Same to you.
Valentine's Day.